This is how Timothy and I met, this strange way 8 years ago. We were both stranded in this little town cafe during the devastating 2016 floods. Because of the blocked roads and unreliable cell connection, we spent 6 hours playing cards with locals. Even though it was supposed to be a difficult circumstance, he managed to make me chuckle. After exchanging Instagrams upon the return of service, we began dating a month later and were married 2 years later. The light at the end of the tunnel is our 6-year-old daughter, Avery. No matter how many times I warn her not to, this tiny energy tornado will not stop dancing, whirling, or jumping on furniture. A few months back, she would not stop gushing over her buddy Olivia's dance sessions. She would go on and on about how the teacher allowed them to wear actual ballet shoes and how she wished she could join in. In my opinion, it was a brilliant plan. Because Avery is so hyperactive, I thought dancing would be a great fit for her. That night, I mentioned it to Timothy, and his response was, "Weird." He chuckled as he lifted his eyes from his phone. Not a good chuckle. I became defensive at the sound of this condescending snort. Taking dancing lessons was an unnecessary luxury, he claimed, and I should chip in more if I wanted Avery to partake in pricey extracurriculars. It was totally unexpected of me. As far as I was aware, we weren't having financial difficulties, and we both agreed that I should go down to part-time when Avery was born. Even though we don't go on extravagant vacations, I didn't believe our small house and 2 paid-off older cars would put $60 a month toward dance. I mentioned this to Timothy, and he retrieved our bank app to demonstrate the minimal amount remaining after monthly expenditures. I felt like something was wrong with the figures, but I couldn't put my finger on it. He's always been in charge of our money because he's good with figures. Therefore, I consented to work a second job and secured a position at a diner close to our home, where I would work the evening shift. Time management was a nightmare. My day work and my 4 nights a week of waiting tables. I would return home stinking of frying oil, with feet that hurt from the day's work. When I expressed my exhaustion, Timothy accused me of being overdramatic. I will never forget him telling me that I had no right to complain about being exhausted since my financial contributions were so little. For the sake of Avery's dance courses, I had to swallow my pride and do this. Avery still hadn't signed up for dancing lessons, even though I'd been at my second job for 3 months. Timothy always had an explanation whenever I brought it up. All the good studios were filled. Do not proceed until the next meeting. First, we had to put away a little more money. Things began to jump out at me at the same time. As an example, Avery mentioned that she and Timothy planned to visit the zoo on one of my work nights. Alternatively, returning home with unbought toys. Alternately, you may bring up the fact that Daddy reportedly had a friend named Lisa. Timothy explained to me that Lisa was simply a coworker going through a divorce who occasionally spent time with them because she was lonely when I asked him in passing about her. He complimented her ability to engage children and mentioned that it provided him with adult discussion throughout my shifts. I suppose it made sense. However, Avery then began to say some strange things. For example, Lisa's photography skills far outstrip Mommy's. Alternatively, I could ask Lisa to my birthday. The worst part is that she has begun referring to me as Mira instead of Mommy on sometimes. She shrugged and explained, "I thought that was your name too because Lisa calls you Mira." I then asked her why she thought so. That triggered serious warning signals. There was nothing fishy about Timothy's Instagram account that I could find. "Lisa, that's wrong." I looked at his Facebook profile. Very much so. His irritation and accusations that I was being paranoid made it clear that our friendship was off-limits if I attempted to bring her up in passing again. The last 3 months have been absolutely disastrous. Because business was poor at the diner, nobody was home, Timothy's car had vanished, and he wasn't returning my texts, I decided to head home early one night. At last he spoke up, mentioning that they were going to get ice cream and would be back soon. They didn't show up for another hour, but by then Avery had changed into an entirely new dress and was gushing over the animated film they'd just seen. Not Frozen dessert. A film. Lisa was obviously one of them, judging by her speech pattern. I approached Timothy after Avery had gone to bed. He was questioned as to why he had lied about their whereabouts. Inquired as to Avery's new wardrobe, questioning why we allegedly couldn't afford dancing lessons. Inquired about the identity of this Lisa figure in relation to our family. Perhaps if you were more entertaining, she would still refer to you as Mommy, he added, his expression icy and unfriendly. I remained motionless. I was shocked. I am furious. Hurt. I remained silent, though. I simply nodded and left since I don't know what else to say in response to it. I started paying close attention after that, which was 5 months ago. Chasing and working. Plus, the trend is obvious. Every time I get a night off, Timothy's work dinner falls on my schedule. When I have overnight shifts, Avery says I occasionally stay at Lisa's place. On the occasions that Timothy informed me he would be working late, our credit card was charged for meals and movies. We still can't afford Avery's dance courses, even if Timothy has new clothes and a fancy new watches. Avery had a stack of pictures stashed in her dresser drawer, which I discovered last week when assisting her with room cleaning. Images of her, Timothy, and an unfamiliar woman taken at a theme park. A swimming park. A Christmas party, at least in appearance. The backs of the images bore the dates. For more than a year, this has persisted. Lisa, the woman, is obviously gorgeous in an Instagram influencer kind of way, as she was before my second job. Brilliant white teeth. Such carefree, posh attire that would have put a week's worth of my waitress salary into debt, but which I could never afford. Avery is clad in her dancewear in one shot. A genuine one, complete with a tutu and all. We set these dates more than a year ago. It would appear that he ceased taking her to class at that time. In fact, I had no idea until Olivia brought it up again. She had never told me. While he was spending a ton of money taking our kid to dancing courses with another woman, he told me we couldn't afford them and forced me to acquire a second job. Avery inquired about the possibility of Lisa becoming Avery's new mother yesterday. It happened so suddenly, in the middle of eating cereal for breakfast, that I almost dropped my coffee mug. I wanted to know her reasoning behind that. Why does Lisa sleep in Daddy's room whenever I visit her house? Because they are special friends, she explained with a shrug. That data is very baffling to me. I want to play it cool with Timothy, so I haven't addressed him just yet. For Avery's sake, I can't simply lose it and make things worse. So, I've devised this strategy. For the last 12 months, I would need a duplicate of all of our financial documents. I'm going to rearrange my shifts at the diner so they're more convenient for Avery. I'm documenting anything I can discover, including photos. Next week, I will be seeing a lawyer. Gaslighting is over for me. I have had enough of pushing myself to the bone while my husband starts a family with someone else. Tired of seeing my daughter run away from me. Everything I believed to be true has turned out to be a lie, and I feel as though I'm residing in a parallel universe. Initial report. Then I have news to share. Also, they aren't very good. Do you remember that I said I would be requesting a copy of our financial records? I went ahead and did it better. Since I was a kid, Timothy has taken care of our money since he says I'm bad with numbers. Not mine, but his. There is a joint account between us. But I remembered that he set up the online banking years ago, and I couldn't even remember the login credentials. I tried using the password I believed we had, but it wasn't working. Last Wednesday during my lunch break, I skipped asking him and went straight to our bank branch. That way, he wouldn't have known. At first, the teller gave me that doubtful expression when I stated that I required statements but couldn't access my account online. However, she was really kind after I presented my identification and stated that I was merely a joint account holder requesting access to our family funds. I felt like throwing up in the bank lobby when I saw what they had found. Money transfers have been going on for the last 18 months with Timothy. Set sums, typically ranging from $300 to $500, were sent to an unrelated account that I was completely unaware of. Periodically, on the first day of each month. In addition to sporadic extra transfers. I now see that he would take those work trips at the same times as smaller, more frequent payments, and occasionally larger ones. All told, it was more than $20,000 in the last 12 months. 20. In the thousands. American dollars. 4 months, I worked extra shifts at a cafe because, allegedly, we couldn't afford the $60 per month dance class. Even a single day, he can deposit more money into this unknown account than that. Hold on a second. Things improve. Maybe even worse. The statements revealed recurring expenses to locations I was unfamiliar with. The tabs at several restaurants are far greater than the sums we ever spend on family dinners. Hotel charges in adjacent cities. I was thankful for his $20 Target scarf as our Christmas present because we were strapped for cash, but he bought me jewels worth over $1,000. I did something completely new after my trip to the bank. I went home. As Timothy worked, I searched his desk drawers. As I trembled with fear as I searched through documents, I felt like a criminal in my own home. I was unprepared for the severity of what I discovered. Expenses for a plane ticket to Florida 3 months ago show up on Timothy's personal credit card bill. He informed me that he was upstate at a training seminar that week. 2 tickets available. Both are under Lisa Harrington's name and his. I used my phone to capture pictures of everything. Evidence. Then I stumbled into the condo's property tax statement, which I had completely forgotten we had. Timothy, on the other hand, possesses. The sole name on the document is his. A year ago, I bought it. You might be wondering what Avery does on the nights that I have to work late. This is not Lisa's home, despite what she claims. My husband purchased a separate piece of property without my knowing. Make changes. After then, things began to fall into place. I had been going to great lengths at the cafe for months in order to earn a couple $100 more, money that he had no need for. I used to believe that we were having financial difficulties and that he forced me to seek a second job so that we could make ends meet. But looking back, I can see its true nature. I am too tired to ask inquiries, therefore I need something to do to keep myself occupied. Lisa gets to play mommy, make pancakes, and put the kids to bed if I'm not home every night. The second employment had nothing to do with dance lessons. The goal was to remove me from the path. I sat on our back porch, staring at nothing until it was time to pick up Avery from school, for the remainder of the afternoon, in a strange, peaceful state of shock. I meticulously photographed everything I discovered and put it back precisely where it had been. I made up my mind as she bolted out of the building, her face lighting up with delight at seeing me instead of Timothy, who normally picks up on Wednesdays. She no longer works shifts at restaurants while she is awake. Forget about being late for school or missing bedtimes. I refused to let this other woman replace me. I changed my appointment at the diner that night. Avery works the early shifts before sunrise and the 2 late shifts on weekends when she's busy with friends. Spending less. However, I would prefer to have ramen for supper rather than let another moment of my daughter's youth slip away. When I informed Timothy about the schedule adjustment, he was astonished and wanted to know if it meant I was leaving the second job altogether. I merely grinned and expressed my want for additional time with Avery. He seemed to be studying something. Awkwardly brought up the fact that we were still in need of the supplemental income. To make it work, I simply shrugged. After school the following day, I treated Avery to ice cream. We were alone. I was heartbroken since she appeared timid around me at first. I don't understand when my own daughter became an outsider. However, she had already begun babbling about her friends and school by the time our Sundays were up. I casually inquired as to whether or not she was still interested in taking dance classes. She told me everything with the way her whole face lit up. As a result, I enrolled Olivia in dancing class the very same day I drove to her studio. I used the money I'd been accumulating from my tips at restaurants to pay for it 3 months in advance. Avery began prancing around the parking lot in pure joy the moment I informed her. Then she wanted to know when Lisa would hear the news. I said that Lisa didn't have to know everything while maintaining my voice neutrality. We may have found our niche here. Mother and Avery alone. Avery had her first class that weekend. A real leotard and those adorable ballet slippers were my gifts to her. We returned home with her dance attire, and Timothy exhibited an unusual lack of noise. Inquired about the source of the funds. As I mentioned before, I had been putting money aside for Avery's special present. He kept his cool, but his displeasure was obvious. In the weeks that followed, I persisted in my investigation. Came across Lisa's Instagram profile. Private. However, the woman in the images was indeed her profile picture. Got her LinkedIn profile. Shares a workplace with Timothy. Unexpected turn of events. Tracked down the paperwork for that apartment. He warned me we needed to cut costs and that I should take on more shifts, and I bought it barely 2 months later. I became more and more enraged and determined with each new revelation. I began duplicating crucial documents as a precaution. I started putting little sums for my gratuities at restaurants into an account I opened at a different bank. I begged my mom to save the proof I had collected in case anything happened. I kept mum about the problems between Timothy and me when I told her. She wasn't to be bothered just yet. My appointment with the lawyer was last Tuesday. Arrangement completed. The hidden funds, the apartment, the vacations. You name it. Without passing judgment, she took notes and asked questions to help understand what was said. She glanced up from her notepad as I finished and then asked me what I wanted. I came to the realization that I had neglected to express that. Nobody is perfect, not even myself. My desires were vague. Come back to me, my daughter. In its whole. For the sake of my financial security, I refuse to rely on a man who has deceived me for so long. I long for the day when I won't have to wonder why things don't add up anymore and be told I'm insane. Remove Lisa from any involvement with my family. It is my hope that Timothy will be held accountable for his actions. We had options, the lawyer replied, nodding. I was able to collect enough proof of his financial situation and his continued contact with Lisa to secure a fair divorce settlement. She cautioned me not to reveal too much too soon, but to keep gathering proof. At the same time, Avery's situation has been steadily improving. Her dance classes are her favorite. Instead of sharing what Lisa taught her, she wants me to help her practice at home. For the first time in months, she called me mommy yesterday, and I had to sneak away to the bathroom so she wouldn't see me sobbing. There has been a noticeable uptick in Timothy's worried behavior, as he has been seen to check his phone more frequently, stay out late, and get up early. While he was arguing in our garden yesterday, I caught him speaking in that low, tight voice that people use when they don't want their argument overheard. Recognized questionable behavior, inquired about it, and realized I need more time. I didn't see it, I said. Unexpectedly, things reached a climax last night. As I prepared supper, Timothy, visibly disturbed upon returning from work, paced restlessly about the kitchen, occasionally looking at his watch. I was finally asked when I was planning to stop paying for this pointless dance class. Without looking up, I continued slicing veggies. I had already paid for 3 months in advance, and Avery had raved about her classes. The plates rattled when he slapped his palm on the counter. Interrogated me about the source of my funds. With a knife still in my fingers, I raised it to my eyes and informed him that I had been hoarding tips. Everything I made belonged to me, and I made sure our kid benefited from it. His expression was all over the place, as if he were torn between two extremes of emotion. Slamming the door behind him, he stormed out. She hurried downstairs after hearing the commotion in her bedroom. Asked Dad where he went. I simply embraced her and mentioned that he needed a break. The night turned into a girls' night. In the living room, she eats pizza, paints her nails, and practices her dance movements. His return home was delayed until well after midnight. Supposedly, I was fast asleep. The mother of Timothy texted me first thing in the morning to see if we were still planning to attend their anniversary celebration next weekend. The family expressed their eagerness to see us and their joy at finally meeting Timothy's buddy Lisa, who would also be in attendance. Give it another read. He attended the anniversary celebration for his parents, to which Lisa has been invited by him. His folks are aware of her, but they think she's simply a buddy. It would be a pleasure to meet Lisa in person, so I replied back that we will definitely be there. Naturally, I saved the screenshot. Following this, I contacted legal counsel. I feel like I've finally stumbled across the right moment to spill the beans on everything I know. A family reunion where nobody can create a fuss, where Lisa will be there, where Timothy's parents will be witnesses, and where I can stop acting like I'm confused. Although the lawyer saw some danger, he also saw some opportunity for success. I was advised to bring hard copies of important financial records. Nothing that might be understood or explained away as being misunderstood. That concludes the current status of affairs. Just a week to go till the reception. I'm frightened, yet strangely at ease. What my mom would term a "fuck you" folder is something I've begun compiling. Everything is in its place: photographs, property records, bank statements, etc. Buesmittel, die nicht weiterlegt werden können. I'm sick of being the overworked waitress who watches as my husband has an affair with another lady behind my back. Regarding our finances, I am sick of being gaslight. Seeing another woman attempt to usurp my role as Avery's mother is enough for me. Another update. Things have picked up speed since my last update 4 days ago. I am unable to sleep, thus I am penning this at 2 in the morning from the guest room of my mom. Everything has been so unpredictable this week. Tomorrow is the anniversary party, and I have been diligently preparing for it in various ways. However, I was taken aback yesterday by an unexpected development. First, I need to set the scene and tell you what's happened since my last post. I made the decision to take a calculated risk the day after I found out Timothy was going to take Lisa to his parents' anniversary party. I decided to break my habit of letting Timothy handle family relations and give his mom a call instead. I asked her what she knew about Lisa and casually said that I was looking forward to finally meeting her at the party. On the phone, there was this strange pause. Things were further solidified when his mother made a statement. Timothy had explained to her that I was having trouble juggling being a mother and working full-time, and that Lisa was simply pitching in as a friend to help out with Avery while I worked on my second job. His mother-in-law seemed to feel sorry for Lisa, the lady who has been having an affair with my husband and acting as a surrogate mother to my daughter. Last month, while I was working late, Timothy invited Lisa over for supper at their house, and she brought it up. My family's finances were reportedly helped by my late shifts at the diner. I stopped the call before saying anything I would later regret, making some nebulous, acceptable noises. After that, I sat in my vehicle in the Target parking lot and let out a 5-minute scream into my jacket. In the aftermath of that call, I sought advice from my own mother. I didn't want her to worry, so I've been keeping her somewhat in the dark about how awful things really are. She lives 3 hours away. I ultimately told her everything because I needed backup. Mom was irate with both Timothy and me because I had delayed informing her. We got into a heated exchange during which she repeatedly promised to drive there right away, and I insisted that I needed to take care of things on my own. We were able to reach an agreement. In order to assist me in dealing with the aftermath of the anniversary party, she would come up the day after to take care of Avery. Now that my backup was taken care of, I shifted my attention to 3 pressing matters: getting to know Avery better, finishing off the evidence I had collected, and getting myself mentally ready for what was to come. During Avery's dance lesson, I have been completely devoted. Even though I'm really bad at it, I have the dexterity of a baby giraffe. I enrolled in that parenting class I mentioned earlier. In the best possible manner, Avery finds it hilarious. She's been really serious and professional, like a little dancing teacher, while teaching me the moves she learns in class. It has evolved become our forte. I picked her up early from school on Wednesday and went her ice cream shopping. She asked me something that destroyed my heart all over again as we sat there with our sundaes. She wanted to know if my feelings toward Lisa had made me angry with her. I paused to collect my thoughts before responding, assuring her that I would never scold her for showing emotion and that the adult issues between my dad and Lisa weren't her concern or responsibility. Even though she appeared relieved, she proceeded to ask yet another bombshell question. She was curious as to whether Lisa would be permanently relocating to live with them at the other property. When she mentioned the other house, I wanted to know more. Daddy and Lisa have a place where she occasionally sleeps over, and she stated it as if it were the most ordinary thing. And it has a lovely pink bedroom that is all hers, filled with a wide variety of toys that would be too big for our home. There is even a unicorn-themed toothbrush in her possession. Then it appeared. I now know that the condo that I found under Timothy's name is really Lisa's apartment, and that she and Timothy have been hiding out there with my kid. Avery now has his very own bedroom in their parallel universe that they've constructed. I composed myself, inquired further as if inquisitive rather than anxious, learned that the other house had an indoor pool, and discovered that Miss Lisa's Mickey Mouse pancakes are delicious. I lay out all the evidence I had collected that night, after Avery had slept. Financial documents, titles to real estate, images, and text from screen captures. What my attorney referred to as a divorce documentation package began with my creation. Everything is in its proper place in a folder, and there are several physical and digital copies. Timothy has no idea of the one in my new Google Drive account, the one with my parents, and the one on my personal email. Then I acted in a way that wasn't in my original plan. I went by the address of the condo that Timothy had given me in his paperwork. I only wanted to witness it for myself. I had no intention of going inside or confronting anyone. Downtown, it was in one of those posh new mixed-use complexes where high-end apartments sit over boutique stores. The kind that costs more each month than what we pay on our mortgage. Strange behavior began to manifest in Timothy the following day. I was at the diner when he unexpectedly returned home from work and began to ask me inane questions about my schedule, my mom's impending visit, and who was watching Avery. He took my phone from the kitchen counter and demanded to know whether I had changed the passcode. Yes, I had. I had taken great pains to maintain my usual routine. I must be forgetting what I said, but I told him no. After another attempt, he was able to log in, swiftly go over some content, and then set it down as if it were insignificant. He proposed we discuss our relationship that night. This coming from a man who, throughout our whole marriage, has shied away from having meaningful discussions. To begin, he acknowledged that we were going through a tough patch, but he was optimistic that we could get through it. Considering how much stress it was causing everyone, I should probably reduce my hours at the diner, she suggested. Just giving a simple nod and saying I'd give it some thought was all I did. There were alarm bells going off inside. Something was amiss, he sensed it. Perhaps Lisa had caught a glimpse of me near the condo. There may have been some mention of our call from his parents. Maybe he went back to his workstation after seeing the missing financial records that I had copied. I found it strange that Timothy had already left when I woke up yesterday morning, Friday, a weekday. There was no sign of sleep on his side of the bed. According to Avery, he departed before her awoke as well. Before heading to my last appointment with my lawyer before the anniversary celebration, I dropped Avery off at school. Our next steps included reviewing the facts once more, planning our strategy for the encounter, and reviewing our expectations following it. She cautioned me that Timothy could explode in anger, attempt to gaslight everyone, or even rally his family against me. He would have a hard time denying all I showed him. A bouquet of roses graced the kitchen counter upon my return home. Flowering plants. Along with a note that read, "I cherish our family. Timothy has only sent me flowers twice in our 8 years of marriage. Twice after Avery's birth and once when we were dating. Those flowers weren't meant as an expression of regret. These were flowers. I know you're familiar with them." After placing them in the guest restroom, I continued with my day. I had 17 missed calls from Timothy when I picked up Avery from school. I sent him a text asking if everything was all right since my phone had been on mute during the meeting. He panicked and called right away, wanting to know where Avery and I were. The reason we were going to the mall, I informed him, was so Avery could find an outfit for his parents' anniversary party. He apologized, assured us he would be home for supper, and even suggested we have family night. It was my agreement. As a surprise, he brought Avery her favorite desserts, pizza and ice cream, played games, helped with homework, and offered to bathe the kids all night long while acting as super dad. The experience was like to observing a hopeful actor trying out for the part of Parent of the Year. Following Avery's bedtime, he sat down on the couch next me, drawing nearer than he had willingly done in months. We began speculating that the three of us could benefit from a family vacation soon. His ongoing contemplation of our shared destiny. Avery relies on her parents so much. As I observed him doing the part of the doting spouse, I couldn't help but wonder whether he thought I was believing it. I let him to hold my hand when he reached out for it because it was easier than trying to draw away. Sweat beaded on his palm. Is tomorrow's attendance at his parents' anniversary party still in my plans? He inquired. Of course, I reasoned I would be. His expression of relief was so contorted it was funny. After that, he casually brought up the fact that his friend Lisa was unlikely to succeed. There was some discussion about a family emergency. To express my disappointment, I merely nodded and expressed my desire to meet her. Timothy was watching me sleep when I woke up this morning. It was more of a tense, watching manner than a romantic one. I opened my eyes to see him swiftly pretending to be getting up. I was asked if I would like breakfast. Should we take Avery to the park first, before going to his parents' house? Sure, I grinned and responded positively. I got in the shower and returned to find him again, mindlessly looking through my phone. He failed to see that I was observing from the corridor. He jerked as if I had stunned him, and I dropped my phone on the couch, all because I cleared my throat. I realized I needed a contingency plan at that point. I informed Timothy I had to make a fast errand to get a present for his parents after breakfast. My mother's house was my immediate destination instead. shared with her the events of the past few days, and requested that she return with me immediately rather than tomorrow. Mom jumped right in. We returned to the car together after quickly packing a suitcase. As we entered the driveway, Timothy stood on the porch, arms crossed, giving the impression that he had seen a ghost, upon which he had noticed my mom in the passenger seat. Attempts by Timothy to charm my mom were interspersed by bewildered and terrified expressions from him when she wasn't looking. This bizarre dance continued for the next few hours. Being courteous yet distant, Mom. I was mentally preparing for tomorrow while acting as if nothing had happened. For next week's brunch, my mom asked for my help setting up, so I let Timothy know I'd be spending the night at her house. My mom was standing there, so he tried to protest but couldn't say anything. Presently, I find myself at my mom's place, armed with my proof folder and an alternate outfit for the party tomorrow. There will be an anniversary celebration tomorrow afternoon, beginning at 3 o'clock. In Timothy's mind, I am going to meet him there. Both of us are anticipated by his parents. Further, Avery. After that, my attorney is prepared to take a call. How about Lisa? Regardless of Timothy's assertion on her family issue, I get the impression that she will be present. In any case, I'll be prepared. The pictures will tell the story. I understand that going after him at his parents' anniversary dinner could be harsh, but I've had enough of gaslighting, lying, and watching him attempt to supplant me as Avery's mother. He has the right to tell his parents the truth about their son, and I have the right to reclaim my dignity in a way that is right for me. The last revision. The anniversary celebration at Timothy's parents' residence took place 3 weeks ago. So many times I began typing this update, then erased it because the words just wouldn't fit. Thanks to everyone who has sent me encouraging notes, I am trying to make sense of things. Really appreciate it. Even though I haven't had the strength to reply, I have read everyone. I had different expectations for that day. Just after 3 o'clock, my mom and I arrived with Avery. Even before you stepped outside, Timothy was pacing the driveway. He appeared terrible. Unshaven, with a crumpled shirt and hands that twitched as if he couldn't sit still. He was on me as soon as I opened the car door, insisting that we needed to have a private conversation immediately. So that Avery wouldn't overhear our argument, I just told him I was going to see his parents before continuing on my way. He trailed after, his voice escaping my grasp. Pictures of his parents' 40 years of marriage adorned every wall of the house, creating an inviting and familiar atmosphere as around 15 or 20 people sipped cocktails and spoke. Quickly, his mother rushed over to Avery, embraced her, and complimented her on her clothing before turning to me. She expressed her relief that I had arrived safely, as Timothy had warned her that I might be stranded at work. Coming to terms with the fact that he had been making excuses about me hurt. I informed her that I had already made arrangements to be there weeks in advance. She seemed unsure of herself for a while before smiling and continuing. I possessed the folder, the one I had laboriously assembled, containing all the relevant documents, photographs, and bank statements. I gave it to his mom when everyone began to sit down to eat. I suggested it as a way for her to learn more about our family.